Hello, hello. I hope I'm live. I'm trying a new streaming service, so I'm not 100% sure whether you can see me or not. So I'm going to do my thing and I'll find out later. And actually, that is really tied to my topic today, which is about how to be likable. And I think our fear tries to tell us that we need to do it one way, but there's actually this secret trick to it that most of us don't want to do. But I'll get to that in a minute. I want to tell you, I have opened up a couple of spots in my calendar to have conversations with people who want to learn this kind of information and learn how to overcome the fears that stop you from being yourself and accomplishing your goals. So anyway, I'll talk more about that in a minute, but I want you to know that links there if you're kind of done doing it by yourself and you want to talk to somebody who happens to be an expert at fear and how it messes with your head, that would be me. So if you want to chat with me, click the link and book a call. So being likable. It basically comes down to letting people know that you're human. And there was a time before I understood how fear works and understood what to do about my own fear, where I didn't let people see who I am. And I never would have done something like this right now, where I'm not only live, which is still uncomfortable for me, but using a new streaming service, and I don't really know how to use it. And so we'll see what happens. And I know for some of you, you're probably thinking, oh my God, I would never do something like that. And that's because fear is still kind of ruling you. I want to tell you about something that I think is funny, something funny that happened today, but it was also very uncomfortable. And there was a time when I would have been freaking out over it. So I did a presentation today for the International Association of Coaching. And that presentation was streamed live to Facebook. Now, there are a few things about this that are just, they kind of make the perfect storm. One, this was streamed to the international coaching community, which means several different countries. And so the time that I did my talk was 6 a.m. So if I look a little tired, that's why, because I've been up since 4. I had to be on with my team and the co-hosts at 5:30. And something that I didn't really think about, like I was aware of it, but I didn't really think about it enough, was the fact that at 6 a.m. here in the Pacific Northwest, it's pitch black, it's dark. Well, I'm sitting here right now in this great lighting in front of a window, only I didn't have that because it was dark at 6 a.m. So I had a ring light that I used, but it didn't work very well with the lighting in the room. And so what they asked me was to please shut off the light in the room and just have the light on my face. So I kind of looked a little bit like a floating head. So that was the number one thing that made me uncomfortable. Then we had some tech glitches. So when I was sharing my screen, suddenly I had no control. Like once I shared it, my cursor on the screen disappeared. I just couldn't see it. And I couldn't control my slides using the buttons on my laptop. And we had tested it, but for some reason, it stopped working. So I started talking and then went to move to my next slide and nothing happened. And I was kind of fooling around. I thought, okay, I'm probably going to need to back out of this, stop sharing my screen and see if I can fix it. Well, I couldn't stop sharing my screen either because my cursor disappeared. So in the past, something like this, I can guarantee you I wouldn't be laughing about it right now. I probably would be crying over it. And in the moment, I would have been in utter panic. And I wasn't. I was calm. Like, I'm human. Um, Anybody who's ever presented online knows that sometimes stuff happens and you have tech problems. So this happened a couple of times. I had to fiddle with it. I had to just keep moving my hand around the screen and like clicking on things until finally it let me out of sharing my screen. And we figured out a solution. So I get back in my groove, I'm talking, and then I start realizing that my light, mind you, I'm sitting in a dark room, so the one and only light that's illuminating my face is starting to fade. The battery is going dead. So as my talk went on, it got darker and darker and darker. And by the end, I had to lean forward and get my face as close to the light as I could in order for people to see me. So it was kind of a comedy of errors. And what really struck me afterwards was people kept commenting on, thank you for your vulnerability, for being vulnerable and for handling the tech issues with grace and with calm. And I thought, wow, it's amazing to hear that. And it just made me think back to before I understood fear and what it does to your head. I would have been in complete panic, and I'm not entirely sure I could have even finished my presentation because I would have been up in my head freaking out. And this idea of like vulnerability and just showing people who you are, just be a human being, that is what people like. That's what draws people to you, not perfection, not always looking good, not making sure that you've got your ducks in a row. Like, you might get applauded for that sometimes, but what really endears people to you, and by the way, deepens connections, is you being you. Just be real. Be like, yeah, sometimes I mess up. Sometimes I forget things. Like, I am going to be buying some new lighting today. I can tell you that much. But I love that I'm laughing about it. It feels really good to be in that place of understanding my fear to this level that it can't derail me anymore. And I really want that for you. If you're somebody who is in that perfectionist mode, if you're somebody who wishes that you had deeper connections in your relationships, or even just more relationships, I think this is key. It's the being yourself, being willing to be vulnerable, being willing to let people see who you are, all of it, you at your best and you in horrible lighting. It's really key. So if you're interested in that, I really encourage you to click the link. It's going to be in the description and also in the comments. I would love to have a conversation with you about how we might work together. There's several different ways to work with me, and there might be something for you. So there's my little funny story to share with you today. And thanks for listening, and I'll be back again soon. Now let me see if I can figure out how to turn this off.